Good morning, good morning, good morning. Again, it's another glorious day, a wonderful day for the glory of the Lord to fill the whole earth. Amen. Well, I am continuing on my theme of desperation for God today. And there was a lack of a better term in English for it, but you could also describe it as being bold or being brash in faith. You believe, and so you go wholeheartedly, like bullheadedly almost, to the one in whom you believe. And I have an example of that in Mark chapter 10 and verse 46, where it says, Then they came to Jericho, and as he went out of Jericho with his disciples and a great number of people, blind Bartimaeus, the son of Timaeus, sat along the way begging. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to cry out, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. He cried out. He shouted out. He didn't say passively. He had some desperate situation. He was a blind man begging, right? Of course he wanted his sight. It wasn't God's desire for him to be blind. In fact, you don't read here where Jesus said, well, you were born to be blind, and so you shouldn't violate what you were born to be. No, blind wasn't what he was born to be. He didn't set him in that position. But he had a desperate situation. So it took some sort of desperate measures. He had to do what it needed to take to reach God in this situation. Not saying that we need to be wild in order to reach God, but he did what was in his heart, what was bold to reach God. Because it says in verse 48, many ordered him to keep silent. Society said, don't do that. The people around Jesus, the church, the people who are with him, said, you keep quiet. You are disturbing the church with your faith, with your boldness in crying out. But he cried out even more, Son of David, have mercy on me. He was desperate. But desperation in this case was him being full of persistent faith. And so then it says, Jesus stood and commanded him to be called. So they called the blind man, saying, Be of good comfort, rise, he is calling you. Throwing aside his garment, now people have pointed out that garment was basically his license to beg. He cast it aside because he knew he was coming in faith, right? He was coming to get what he came to get. He rose and came to Jesus. Jesus answered him, What do you want me to do for you? Even now, Jesus didn't say, Well, it's obvious what you need. No, the blind man said to him, Rabbi, that I might receive my sight. He had a goal in mind, a desire in mind. Jesus said to him, Go your way, your faith has made you well. So we see evidence from the words of Jesus that it was his faith crying out. His faith called on Jesus. His faith persisted. His faith had a specific request. What? I might receive my sight. And Jesus said, Your faith has made you well. And immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus on the way. Bartimaeus was desperate, but he turned his desperation to the one who can supply his needs. You see another example in Luke chapter 5. Try not to spend too much time on this one, where it says, Jesus said, Which of you has a friend, and shall go to him at midnight and say to him, Friend, lend me 3 loaves, for a friend of mine on his journey has come to me, and I have nothing to set before him. So he had a desperate situation too. He was desperate to supply his friend. He had a lack. He lacked the 3 loaves, and he needed 3 loaves now. So he came to his friend and said, Lend me 3 loaves. And his friend answers from within, Don't trouble me. The door is shut. My children are in bed with me. I can't rise and give you anything. I say to you, though he will not rise and give him anything because he is his friend, yet because of his persistence, or in essence, his desperate persistence, his bold or brash faith, he came back and he came back and he said, I need 3 loaves. I'm coming to you again. Because of his persistence, he will rise and give him as much as he needs. Then he follows that with saying, And I tell you, Jesus tells us, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock, and it will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, he who seeks finds. To him who knocks, it will be open. So you persist in faith. You are bold, brash, desperate, for lack of another word, in faith, coming to the Lord for all you need, for all you want. For he is our source, and he is our supply, and he is good. Amen. Be blessed.